This is Rockstar Repair Addendum Writing, tips and tricks. So I've been involved with re-inspections over the past however many years. I've been doing this 12, 13 years, and I've seen them go awry. And I've seen them go awry because the repair addendum is not wrote as specifically as it should be, so that the other party can get accomplished what a buyer's agent and their client would like to get accomplished. So I'm going to just kind of go into some things here. The facts, client satisfaction hinges on many facets of the transaction. A customer satisfaction gap can be created when requesting repairs after the building inspection. So the customer service gap is obviously what customers want, and the gap would be what they unfortunately have to accept because of what occurred during the transaction. So there's a spectrum of product and service opportunities that run the gamut between left and right. Clients' expectations of how they want things can be different from the seller's or even yours. So you should be taking the time to communicate with the client to their specific needs as to what they want as it relates to the repair portion of the transaction, and then putting those expectations in a proper legal contractual repair addendum it's a skill that's easily honed, and it's not that difficult. But sometimes, just due to the speed of life and the way things move, we can just kind of forget that little nuance of the transaction, and it can kind of create problems. And just taking a little bit extra time to remember a couple of key things can just kind of nip that in the bud and just basically not make it a problem. I just relate to it as to and again, I always refer back to ask your broker about this stuff. So don't take this information as the Bible. I always just say, like, your broker will have procedures in place for things and the way things, typically they want to have things done. So always defer to that first. Don't rely on this as your Bible. But I like to say the 3 W's as far as like writing the repair addendum, just from ones that I've seen and things I've taken out of them, the ones that seem to get the best result kind of follow this process. So first W is who will conduct the repair, what item will be repaired, so who, what, and where will the item be repaired, i.e. the location of the issue if that is available. Not all what and where's can always be present, but if it's a source point type of issue, always kind of maybe adding that information can be helpful. Who will conduct the repair? So Florida requires licenses for engineers, contractors, electricians, roofers, plumbers, HVAC, pool and spa contractors, etc. So it's always a good idea in the repair addendum to Florida licensed electrician to repair the oversized breaker in the electric panel. Just putting that licensed electrician on there can save some hassle because we do get handyman making repairs, and there's some companies and some inspectors out there that won't typically accept the repair if it's done by a handyman. So sometimes there's easy things like a broken electric outlet cover plate, like you have a cover plate missing in your bedroom or something because it broke and the owner just never repaired it. Well, does an electrician need to do that? Probably not. I would always check with the inspector that does these 4 points, that will you accept, if a handyman or if the owner just puts a new cover plate on. I think if most people are reasonable, like that would be fine. But if you're talking about like replacing an entire electric panel, that should be done by a licensed electrician. So probably would be a good idea to put like licensed electrician to replace electric panel on the, repair addendum. That way you don't run into issues of sellers or selling parties or house flippers or whoever taking shortcuts on that type of stuff. And just like I said, otherwise the selling party could do work themselves or handyman with questionable results. And the example text to use would be Florida licensed electrician to repair, to replace electric panel in garage, or however that's going to be worded. What items will be repaired? Sometimes you may need to specifically state what item will be repaired and to what degree. We'll get into a case study on that in a second. Degree could be a specific count of things or an amount. Anything less could leave unintended results. Not always, but there's a chance. Where are the items located if this is a thing, state location of the actual item. For example, if the buyer is adamant that they want GFI outlets at the kitchen, bathroom, garage, probably be a good idea to state exactly where you want those items installed. That way you don't just say install GFCI protection. Well, that could cause an issue because it's not really clear as to where if the buyer has a specific thing like we want them here, and you don't spell that out on the repair addendum, now the other party that's trying to interpret that could get confused. Shortcuts, you can reference the home inspection report. Typically that'll have pictures. For security, some PDFs can be locked, so you can't always, if you have a PDF editor, you can't sometimes delete things out of there. A quick shortcut is if you have a Windows PC, they have a app or a program called the snipping tool that you can bring up, and just with your mouse, you can literally just hold your mouse button down, drag, and highlight a square section of what you want. You can just save it as a JPEG. You can do that. Some software like ours has a repair addendum writer in it to repair the software that we use. When you're in the report digitally, there's a menu option that lets you just kind of go through the report, and it kind of changes the report into an editable type thing where you can click on items you want to have repaired, and you can just print that out as a quick PDF, and you could send it along with your FAR repair addendum. I know it's a specific form that you have to fill out. Putting it all together. So this is kind of a case study. This was actually something that did happen. All these things actually happened. They were actually re-inspections done by us at some point in the past. So I kind of turned them into, and I can remember them vividly because it created pardon my French, a shitstorm, with between the buyer and the seller, because the repair addendum wasn't clearly wrote. So this situation was, there was a duplex house, and in it, it had older electric panels that, by the brand of them, were uninsurable on the insurance market. So because of the brand of the panel, that the buyer who was purchasing the property, this was a rental property, but they couldn't get insurance on it because the electric panel brands were uninsurable. They had to be replaced. So the real world result was that the repair addendum that was sent over to the seller from the buyer's agent was that seller to replace uninsurable electric panels, signed by the buyer, signed by the seller. But the seller should have, obviously, that should have been the first clue to them, that like, well, what's uninsurable? We don't know. Seller doesn't know. I mean, they're selling the house. They don't know who they're shopping for insurance. They don't know what's going on. The real world result was that the seller replaced the outside panel, but they didn't replace the other two panels when we went out to do the reinspection, which was obviously close to closing. And, this created a problem because the seller didn't know what was uninsurable. The repair addendum wasn't clear as to what the buyer wanted. So I don't know the end result in this as to who fixed what or who had to do what or what happened in the transaction. But the explainable point here is that, if we were to go back in time and redo this repair addendum and follow maybe the 3 W's, who, what, where, the seller to have Florida licensed electrician replace the 3 uninsurable electric panels located at the exterior garage and the hallway. So we sufficed who's doing the work, the electrician. We're expressing what is to be done, 3 uninsurable electric panels, and where is it being done at the exterior garage and the hallway. They would have just did that and sent that over to the seller. If you're somebody on the receiving end of that, you have clear instructions now. Okay, they can't get insurance because of this, and here's what needs to be done, and here's who needs to do it. So now your chances of having something go awry on the back end of that, if you're having to get a reinspection or submit things, invoices to an insurance company or an inspector, whoever, you're minimizing your chance for difficulties there just by taking a few extra seconds to maybe spell things out. Again, I digress. I don't remember who this buyer's agent was. I don't think that in most instances in a real world situation that a buyer's agent would just put that out there, especially one that's seasoned. Again, I don't know the credentials, or this was just an example. I just remember the situation. So again, I don't know how common that repair addendum would be, but it did happen. So I'm just using an example. This one was a situation from years ago. The buyer was out of state. He was a doctor. He was moving down here to St. Pete. I don't know if he was working at All Children's or one of the hospitals downtown. He had small dogs. The existing backyard fence it was wood, had multiple rotten fence boards in the backyard and on the gate, things like that. The repair addendum was wrote seller to replace rotten fence boards. Okay, to the buyer and the buyer's agent, that probably seemed like they're going to replace the rotten fencing. But the problem is that this is a contractual document and it didn't specifically specify a degree. So if like you're a judge looking at this, or I mean, it wouldn't come to this for a fence, but I'm just saying, like, if you're looking at this kind of as a above, you're playing God and you're just looking down on this situation. Well, did they have to replace all of it? It didn't say all. It just said rotten fence boards. So let's put plural on that and say, well, how many fence boards is plural? 2. Real world result, the seller replaced 3 of the fence boards, leaving well over 20 in place. They weren't repaired, and they stuck to that repair addendum because they didn't put, I know it's egregious to put a specific count, but if you use the term all, you probably would have been in a better situation. The redo on that, seller to have contractor replace all rotten fence boards along rear yard perimeter wood fence. So again, the 3 W's: who, contractor, what, all, you specified the specific count, and where along the rear yard perimeter fence. Think had they redone that, I specifically remember in this situation that the buyer's agent in this case had to come out of pocket, and they didn't have to, but they came out of pocket and fixed the fence on their dime to make the client happy, because again, the shortcoming is they didn't really take an extra 30 seconds on the repair addendum to clearly spell out what the client was looking for, high-end client was looking for, and it didn't end well because they didn't have a reinspection. I just remember kind of after the fact talking about it with them. But anyway, finale: when in doubt, ask for assistance, be it from broker or peers. Make sure the client reads the repair addendum. Obviously, they have to sign it to ensure their ideas of what they want repaired or clear and specifically communicated, and that they're happy with the way it was drafted and will hopefully get the outcome and results they want. As it is typically you, the agent or broker who's drafting the addendum, you could potentially be the one that's going to be looked at if things don't go as envisioned. Now, I know there's obviously a seller's party as well that has that, but again, we're trying to eliminate a client satisfaction gap there. So not having things go awry and having them potentially looking at you with a sour face is kind of what you don't want. So remember, satisfied client is a referring client. I know you guys, lean heavily on that. So that's kind of what we're trying to stop. So, and that was it.